Hi guys, welcome to another lesson of HTML and CSS. In our previous lessons, we just covered HTML completely. We just covered all of the topics that are essential for us to get started with front-end development of our websites. Whereas in today's lecture, we are going to start CSS. From now on, we are going to learn CSS and different ways that how can we use CSS in our pages and what does it do. So in today's lesson, we are going to take a bit of introduction of CSS and how do we use it in our HTML markups. So what is CSS? Actually, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It describes the browser to which our HTML is running. It tells it that what is the appearance of our page and how does it look, what colors should be applied and what should be the layout of the page. All of these things are told by CSS. HTML is just a skeleton. It just imports the elements inside the markup, but the styling of those markups is done by CSS. So how does this CSS affect our HTML? So for this, I have created a dedicated example. I have wrote the code in HTML, CSS and JavaScript to show you that how does this CSS actually affects our HTML markup and its front end. So let's get into our example and let me show you how does it look. Right here, this is our directory where we are working right now. For now, I am going to show you our CSS example. In this example, I have written this markup. As you can see, it is containing our style. We are going to talk about all of these things in a bit of minute. So for now, just see, this is all of the code that I wrote, and this is the CSS section, and then there is going to start our HTML section and the JavaScript section. Let us go live into our browser and see how does it look and what is it trying to depict. So as you can see, if I click on no style sheet, this is our simple page in which there is no style sheet. Only the elements are imported into it in with a simple HTML markup, and we are not able to see any sort of styling applied into this page. Whereas if I click on this style sheet 1 button, I can see I have in my example code, I have created 4 style sheets, and each style sheet contains a different layout, so that you can see that how much the CSS just affects our HTML markup. This is style sheet 1 in which I wrote this style, whereas this is style sheet 2. As I click on style sheet 2, now you can see this style sheet 2 has just completely changed the layout of our page. The buttons has come to the right side, whereas in style sheet 3, this is the style sheet 3 and it's a hover actions and all of the actions are just completely changed. And in our style sheet 4, this is also completely changed because it contains the different styles. Whereas if I click on no style, again, it comes to its default HTML markup because it doesn't contain any sort of style right now. So after seeing how CSS affects our HTML markup, we are going to jump into CSS usage, that how do we use and what are different ways by which we can use CSS in our HTML markup. So actually there are 3 ways by which we can embed the CSS into our page and make styling applicable on our pages. These 3 types are inline CSS, internal or embedded CSS, and external CSS. Let us indulge into each of them individually and see how do we use in each of these type of CSS. So first of all, it's internal CSS. In internal CSS, if I may show you by creating a dedicated file, let us create for this lesson 10 and intro to CSS. So in this I did not again give it my extension .html and boilerplate introduction to CSS. And inside this, right here, as you can see, as I told, that the style tag is a tag which contains our internal CSS, and it is placed inside the head tag of our HTML markup. So this sort of CSS, is used specifically when we want the style to the present style, which is the internal CSS, just to the present page, only one web page. So if we would want to use it for multiple pages, then we would need to copy the CSS or this style tag to each of that HTML markup page inside head tag. For instance, if we have .test class and I write test here, and for style we create it inside our head tag. We are right now inside our head tag. If I may create the style tag, inside this style tag I can write the CSS. For now, I am just going to write a example CSS. I know that some of you people won't be able to understand what am I writing, but in forward lectures we will just be talking about all of these topics clearly and you would be able to understand it later. But for now, I'm just going to show you how does this internal CSS work. So if I may write here color orange, and if we go live for this page in browser, you can see that this color has changed according to the style we mentioned. So this is the internal style sheet. So, for example, if we have another page, another HTML, and we want to use this same style sheet, then we would need to copy it to that sheet into the head section as well. After this, we have the external CSS. So this is best way when we want to use a single CSS file for multiple pages. It is just included into our HTML file by using a link tag inside the head tag of the HTML. So if I may create it, for example, right here, I would create a new folder as in this directory. I'm going to create a new folder, CSS, and in this I am going to create style.css, and I am going to copy this style, actually cut it and paste it right here. And in this external CSS page, in this external CSS file, we don't need these style tags, so I'm going to do it this way. So after this, coming into this file again, and if we want to link that file again, if we may go into browser right now, you can see there is no style applied to this file right now because we have removed that style tag from here. If I want to link that external file right here, so I can just write link, and for this rel tag of this link attribute, I would need to give style sheet, and in this href I am going to give the path, relative path to that. Mean in the same folder we have CSS folder, and this CSS folder we have style.css file. So if we may go back to our browser, you can see the style is just applied here. So if in this external file CSS, external CSS, if we want to embed it and use it into multiple pages, then we just need to copy this tag and paste it inside that new HTML in which we want to use it. In this matter, in this case, if you would change this file once, it will change all of the pages styles that will be using it inside this link tag. Whereas in the previous method, which is internal CSS, in that internal CSS you would need to change it for each page. So after this external CSS, we have inline CSS. This inline CSS means that we write this style for each tag individually. Inside that tag, we need to give a style attribute, and in that style attribute, we have that we have its style. It is a bit of difficult to manage, but it has its own advantages in some cases, which we will be learning in our forward videos. For example, when we will be talking about the order of CSS which will be implemented to our tag. So right here, if I have this test tag and I write style is equal to blue, and I remove this style sheet from here, you can keep it right here because this tag actually I need to give here style. In our style, I will give a color of blue, and actually you can keep this file right here, but this inline CSS has more priority than the external CSS. So we will be talking about all these priority type of thing in our forward lessons, so upcoming lessons. So for now, this is the style blue for this tag, and if I may go back to our browser, you can see this is the style that is applied to this tag. So I hope you liked the video. This is it for this lesson. Thank you. Goodbye.